Hello, happy Wednesday. We are back for chapters 14 and 15 today in our book study. I'm on a little bit early. I was just down for a nap, but we have a big storm blowing in. It was perfectly clear this morning. The kids were in the pool. And now I'm sitting in my office and the sky is so dark. So I'm a little afraid that we're going to lose power. And if that happens, it might end the live stream. So I'm going to try and get it all in before the storm hits so that way we don't have to worry about it. But last week we covered chapter 12 and 13. This week we're on chapters 14 and 15. So I'm just going to get right into it so that way if the storm does come in, it doesn't totally knock everything out. So chapter 14, we are in a new section of the book. This is part 3 and it's transforming. So it's the journey of you building unshakable self-worth and unconditional self-love. So chapter 14 starts us off in this section. And the title of that chapter is The Secret of Fulfillment. Self-worth is the multiplier. And so she starts out with this quote and it says, sometimes your next level of life is an achievement. It's alignment. And that's by Brendan Burchard. And I think that is such an important thing because I know for me, I struggled last year before I started my journey to really develop personal development and growth, just with alignment. I didn't really see what my purpose was. I feel maybe there's moms on here that can relate, but we are stay-at-home moms or, maybe we work part-time or something outside the house, but we kind of lose who we are and we don't really align with anything. We don't have a purpose. And I feel that's kind of really what it's talking about. When you feel you're destined for more, but you're kind of stuck where you are. And so finding that true alignment of what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? And so that kind of hit home with me, just that quote, is that sometimes your next level of life is an achievement. It's alignment. So starting on page 185, it says, right now in your life, would you say you're truly fulfilled? Or do you feel something is missing? And she gives 4 keys for fulfillment. Wow, I cannot say that fast. 4 keys for fulfillment. There we go. The first one is self-worth. The second is self-confidence. The third is growth, and then contribution. And so she breaks all of them down. And she says, we've covered a lot of self-worth and self-confidence in the previous chapters. So if you haven't seen those chapters, or if you haven't read this book, this is Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. Grab your copy. I promise you it will be worth the $20 investment or whatever it costs for you. It's just really an eye-opening book to really align yourself and to really find joy and fulfillment in who you are and what you were called to be and who you're called to be, and not just pleasing everyone around you. So I highly recommend grabbing it, or you can watch the previous book studies over on YouTube. Just search my Instagram handle, Taylor Chantel, and all the videos from the previous book studies will pop up as well. So she says, growth comes from taking up a new hobby, picking up a book, doing work in therapy, taking up a new challenge, or continually working to grow an existing passion. There is joy and aliveness when you feel you're growing. Contribution is contributing to others, a cause or something bigger and beyond yourself, or even donating your time, your money, or your ideas. So on page 187, she says, true fulfillment is the sum of your self-confidence plus your growth plus your contribution, and then you multiply that by your level of self-worth. Even when you have high self-confidence, you're growing and you're making a meaningful contribution to society. If you have zero self-worth, you won't feel fulfilled. And so I don't know if I have that here or if it's on the next page, but what she says to do is you take those 3 things, and she draws it here as a little graph. So this is going to be backwards for you, and I wish I knew how to flip it, but I don't. So if you grab the book, you'll see it. But she has a graph here, and so all of them are on here. Your true fulfillment line, your self-worth, and then the rest of them will fit in on there as well. And so you add your self-confidence, your growth, and your contribution, and then you multiply it by your self-worth. And so she goes on to say on page 190, so it's time to score yourself. Answer each key area on a 1 to 10 scale of where you are in life right now. So for your self-confidence, how strongly you believe in your abilities to meet life's challenges, your willingness to try and go for it and to succeed. On a scale from 1 to 10, where would you rate yourself? And then write that down. And then you're going to go on and for growth. And she has it written down as well. So just draw a little line or just add your numbers, write it on a piece of paper, whatever you want, but really sit and think about it. So then for growth, internal and external, pursuits that build your skills, competencies, traits, and passions, where would you rate yourself on growth? Are you actively growing? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you reading books? Are you pushing yourself outside your comfort zone? These all contribute to your growth. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate yourself? And then 3, your contribution, giving your time, talents, energy, or resources to others, a cause, or something beyond yourself. Where would you rate yourself on that scale? Are you contributing? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? Are you kind of keeping to yourself and holding on to everything you have to offer the world, or are you going out there and looking for opportunities to give? So then once you have those, figure out your self-worth, the internal, deep-rooted belief that you are enough and worthy just as you are. Do you truly believe that? Do you really believe that you are worthy of success or of being liked or being fulfilled or of living maybe even? Are you really believing that you're worthy of that? Or is there doubt? Are you like, no, I'm not like so-and-so. They are, better than me. They look different or they act different. They're more outgoing, whatever it is. What is your self-worth? What do you think you are on a scale of 1 to 10? Where would you rate yourself? So once you write those down, you're going to add the first 3 together, and then you're going to times it by your self-worth. So you use that total number. She draws a horizontal axis. I really wish I knew how to flip this, and so I apologize because I really don't. But you draw a horizontal, like a chart, and so you're going to look on the chart, and you'll have like your self-worth over here, and then the sum of all the other ones over here. So once you add them all together, and then she said, so like if your self-worth is like, yeah, I think I'm doing pretty good. I'm like a 6. But like everything else, like when you add them together, you're only like, whatever, you're lower than that. Like you're going to put yourself on the chart there. And so again, I highly recommend you grab the book and really sit down and go through this, because I can try and show you a backwards chart all day long, but until you have it in front of you and you're putting in the work and you're growing, it's going to be hard to really move past. So she has that chart there for you to learn and grow from and to figure out where you are so you know what you have to work on. And she said your chart's never going to be perfect, because she said the more that she goes through this equation and the more she puts herself out here, she's like, sometimes my self-worth is like really high, but I've noticed that like my growth is low, or my confidence is low, or my contribution is low. And so it never balances out. There's always growing and changing going on. And so it's important to check yourself all the time and see where you are. On page 192, she says, don't be afraid of where you fall on the chart. Let it empower you. We are all works in progress, and our path to building strong self-worth is a lifelong one. You are truly worthy right now, exactly as you are. So no matter what the graph says, no matter how you feel, remember that you are truly worthy exactly as you are right now. You were created on purpose for a very specific purpose. And because of that, you are completely worthy of everything that God has in store for your life. And so go out there and achieve it. On page 193, she ends with this thought in chapter 14. Self-worth is the multiplier, the single most important factor in achieving truly fulfilling personal success. So she kind of dives in a little bit more into self-worth in this chapter. And really, the book is called Worthy. So you are going to be working on your worth and what you are worthy of this whole book. But she says it's the multiplier. And so if you truly don't feel that you're worthy of something, then you're going to stop yourself from ever achieving it, or you're going to stop yourself from feeling that success because you're holding on to some self-doubt and you don't think that you actually should have that. And you have to change that. You have to change your mindset, and you have to grow and let yourself feel those things and reframe them and move on and redefine hurt that has come into your life, because that's going to push you forward. So that was just a quick summary of chapter 14. Chapter 15 was the long chapter. So the title of that chapter was Do You See You? And this is really where I spend a lot of my time, because I felt like this chapter was kind of eye-opening. And she was talking about like living in a state of like survival. And so she shares this story right at the beginning when she was launching her product in London. So if you haven't been to the previous book studies, Jamie Kern-Lima is the founder and creator of IT Cosmetics, which is a makeup company. And she ended up selling it several years ago to L'Oreal, I believe. But when she started the company and they were launching in London, she went there for the launch. And when she was in her hotel getting ready, there was like a hotel fire. And so she's like, we're like all scrambling, and she's like, my friend's like panicking, people are yelling and screaming, some are like frozen, they can't move, and she's like, and I jump into survival mode, and I'm like, okay, we have to find a way out of here. We have to find a stairwell, we have to find an escape window, we're on the 7th floor, like we have to get out of here. She's like, I could just see like billows of smoke coming out of the elevator, so that was not an option. We couldn't just ignore the, don't use an elevator during a fire sign, because smoke's directly coming from the elevator shaft. And so she like gathers people, they find a window, they break it open, they climb down the fire chute, and she's like, but I realized in that moment, like, what do I do? And I just jumped into like surviving. And she said sometimes we live in that state of just surviving, and we don't actually live and lean into like our true feelings and our true selves. And so on page 197, she says she was disconnected from her own panic fear in order to survive. She's like, I think I've done this most of my life. I've defaulted to only doing and being what or who I needed to be in order to survive the situation, to win approval, to hear good girl and good job. Survival mode can become our default emotional state, and our comfort zone. When we live in a state of being who we think we need to be, then we live disconnected from who we truly are. While it's common to consider connection with others, it's not as common to consider connection with ourselves. So let's look inward. And so she's saying when she lives in survival mode, she's just disconnected from who she truly is. She's not living authentically. She's not showing up as her true self, because she's ignoring all of the voices and the feelings inside of her, and ignoring who God ultimately created her to be, so she can show up and be who everybody else wants her to be. So she can do everything that everybody else wants her to do, instead of showing up and saying, that doesn't fit with me. I don't agree with that. That's not the career path I want to take. That's not the friends that I want to hang out with. She's like, I just fall into that trap of showing up for them and ignoring myself. So on page 199, she says, are you showing up as the real you to you? Do you truly connect with yourself and know yourself? The only way to have a true, intimate connection with yourself is to fully see, acknowledge, and embrace who you authentically are, and to believe that you're worthy of it. And so I think that kind of is explaining itself, but that connection with yourself is important, because you have to know who you were created to be. And we talked about like meditation and prayer and getting alone with yourself and figuring those things out in previous chapters, and even in the last book study. But you have to have that meditation time. You have to sit down and figure out like what aligns with who I am. Like what really drives me? What are my passions? What do I want to see in my life? What does success mean to me? Because yes, success to the world might mean, having a big house or fancy cars or lots of money or whatever it is, or looking a certain way and dressing a certain way. But is that success to you? Because if it's not success to you and you try to achieve all of those things, while you might get there, you're never actually going to feel fulfilled, because it's not actually what your passions and your desires are. So moving on, she says on page 199, page 203, when we walk through life inauthentically, hiding or numb, we might protect ourselves from immediate pain, but we also prevent ourselves from tapping into our purpose, our joy, our creativity, and our aliveness. So again, going back to the like hiding who you are, numbing yourself, like maybe like for me, like I'm sarcastic. I have this sense of humor that I usually don't use. Like I'm very, what do you call it? Introverted? I don't know. I was thinking internal. I'm very introverted. And so a lot of times I kind of like in a group of people, I'm the quiet one. I don't share a lot. I don't talk a lot. I just sit and listen. And it's easy for me because my husband is very extroverted and he likes talking to people. And so I hide behind that. But in doing so, then people don't see who I really am. People don't get to know me and who I am, because I just let him take the lead. And so I have to learn, even though I can still be introverted, even though I can still like being home and being by myself and just listening to people talk, there's a time and a place for me to share as well, because that's going to breed true connection. When it comes to your life, are you living to make it through, or are you living to make it count? And so she gives 5 shortcuts for self-worth. And the first one is seeing outward and inward. On page 203, it says, if you are struggling to love yourself, start loving and appreciating the beauty and positives in the things around you. When you start to see the good in everything around you intentionally, it becomes a mindset and habit. It will eventually trickle over into you starting to see the positive strengths, good, and beauty in yourself. And I think I put that note in here, but like what you focus on multiplies. And so if you're looking at all the good and all the beauty, you're going to continue to see that. And then you'll start to see it in yourself, and you'll start to say, no, my sense of humor is something that makes me unique and different, and that allows me to connect with people in a way that I've never connected with them before. And so allowing yourself that freedom to look outwardly, and then it will transform into being an inward thing as well. On page 204, it says, when you build self-worth and begin to love who you are, it's the quickest way to change any problem in life. You don't see things as they are, you see things as you are. So if you inwardly don't believe that you're worthy, if you don't see yourself as beautiful or as, smart, whatever it is, you're going to start seeing the world that way as well. And you're going to see all the negative in people around you instead of seeing the positive in the things. Or you're going to start saying, instead of seeing like the thunderstorms as something that's a positive thing, you're going to see it as negative, because inwardly you see yourself in a negative light, and it breeds to everything around you as well. She puts on page 205, what you focus on becomes your reality. The more you acknowledge the beauty around you, the more you'll see the beauty within you. And so her second one is writing and worthiness. In the past, we talked about creating like a daily habit of journaling, and the author mentions that in here as well. And she says, when you're journaling, write about the hard and negative things that you've experienced. Maybe if you journal like once a week or once a day, whatever it is, write about those struggles that you faced that day. Or, something happened to you and somebody was rude to you at the grocery store. She's like, it's okay to like vent about it to yourself, and then go back and review it, because there's a good chance that negative experience actually caused you to grow and actually pushed you out of your comfort zone. And 6 months from now or a year from now, you can look back and say, yeah, that negative experience that happened on this specific date, it actually helped me to grow in this way, or this is the lesson that I learned from it. And she said, use that negative experience, but allow it to be something positive in the future. And so she said, leave space in your journal when you write, and put a date next to something negative that happened if you're writing about it. Don't go and look for the negative, but if you see the negative, or if there's something negative that really is bothering you and eating you up inside, put it down, put the date next to it, and then go back to it 6 months and a year from now and redefine that negativity and show yourself like, yeah, this negative thing happened. Here's what I learned from it. Here's how I grew from it. And so on page 207, it says, it helps solidify your knowing that you can make it through hard things and that they don't define you. So those hard experiences don't define you. It's something for you to grow through, something for you to push past. And I truly believe that God puts hard things in our life for a specific reason, and it will allow us to get to the next level we need to be at, because we have to learn and grow. And if we don't have those hard things and those hard experiences, we're not going to be able to grow and become the person we need to be in the future. So number 3, higher intentions, higher self-worth. On page 207, she says, at our core, we genuinely believe that good people deserve good things. So when we take the time to consider our intentions behind what we say or do and refocus our intentions, it's a powerful self-worth shortcut, and it helps our self-worth get stronger. So she said, if we genuinely believe that good people deserve good things, if your intention is to make it through life as quickly as possible and with as little connection with people as possible, and that's what you're aiming for, then when you look inward and you say, what is my intention in this relationship? Am I trying to get something from them, or am I trying to really serve them? Am I trying to really befriend them as a genuine connection because I need a connection and I see them struggling with, where they are in life? Because if our intention is good, then we're going to see ourselves as being a good person, and we're going to believe that we are worthy of all of the good that's going to come to us and that will happen to us, because, God allows good things and bad things to happen. He allows us to have connections, but we have to be in alignment with Him, and we have to be in alignment with ourselves and being who we are truly called to be, that He's designed us to be. So number 4, you are worthy of being seen, heard, and understood. On page 208, she says, one of the quickest tools to getting what we need in life is to first give it. If you struggle seeing yourself acknowledging your own beauty, value, and worth, let someone else know that you see them, you hear them, and that they matter to you. She says, like Newton's third law of motion, for every action or force, there's an equal and opposite reaction. When you truly see someone else, you are seen right back. So instead of going to somebody and building a relationship with somebody and hoping that they'll connect with you and hoping that you'll get something from them, or they'll be the missing piece to you feeling worthy, go to them and genuinely serve them as a friend. Figure out how you can help them. Maybe it's having their kids over for a play date, or maybe it's going and grabbing a cup of coffee, or whatever it is. Like, genuinely connect with that person on a level of serving them first and giving to that person. And if they give to you, great. And if they don't, it will come over time, or somebody else will come and give to you, because Newton's third law, every force of action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So when you do something good, when you do something positive, when your intentions are right, good things are going to happen in return. So her last one is windows and mirrors to your soul. How you love yourself is how you teach others to love you. One way to foster the connection with yourself is to practice mirror work. So this was something I haven't necessarily heard a lot about, but the more that I am digging into personal development, I'm learning about it a little bit more. And so she talks about it quite extensively in this chapter. So again, go back and read it if you're interested. But basically, mirror work is the practice of gazing at yourself in the mirror while saying positive affirmations to yourself. So I actually placed like affirmations on my mirror, and I did it for my husband as well. And so when we wake up, we get ready in the morning, our affirmations are there and we can repeat them to ourselves. But she takes it to the level of like literally looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing your like inside your eyes. And she's like, the longer you look in your own reflection, the deeper you're going to connect with yourself. Because she's like, a lot of times when you make eye contact with somebody and it's like that awkward moment, all of a sudden you like look away. She's like, you're actually, the longer you hold that connection to your eyes, then you're really like aligning with yourself more, and you're seeing who you truly are and seeing your intentions and seeing your purpose and seeing your drive. And so she said it's really important to have that. And she's like, it might be really uncomfortable when you first start like looking at yourself in the mirror and making eye contact with yourself. But she's like, the more you do it, the easier it's going to become. And then you're going to be able to grow yourself and see where you are struggling and see the things that you need to work on because of this type of mirror work that you're doing. On page 210, she says, our depth of connection with others can only be as deep as our connection with ourselves. To be beautiful means to be yourself. You don't need to be accepted by others. You need to accept yourself. So if you yourself are not happy with who you are, you can't connect with other people because you think that you're not good enough. And so you're going to have that wall up every single time you connect with somebody of, I'm not good enough. This friendship isn't good enough. Or, they're going to see right through me. They're going to know I'm struggling. They're going to know whatever it is that you're putting this facade on, they're going to see through it because you see through yourself and you know your true meaning and intentions behind things. She says, when practicing mirror work, start by saying, I love you. What can I do for you today? And it makes me laugh every time I read this because I'm like, I can imagine myself standing in the mirror and saying, you know what, Taylor, I love you. What can I do for you today? What do you need from me today? How can I make your life easier? And then my kids walking in and I feel like my kids would just be like, Mom, what are you doing? That's so strange. But I think it's that open communication and being able to guide them and raise them in an environment where it's okay to say no, these affirmations are good for you. We need to look at ourselves. We need to reevaluate who we are, what our purpose is. And it's uncomfortable because we haven't been raised doing this. I know in my house I haven't, maybe in yours you have, but it's trying to serve ourselves has been looked at as really selfish. And I think we have this mentality that if we do something for ourselves and we have some sort of self-care routine or self-love thing that we do that makes us feel good, then it's well, then why are you neglecting your family? Isn't this time better spent with your family? Shouldn't you be, cleaning the house or taking care of your children and spending time with them and reading books with them? But you can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to fill yourself first. And so this is part of it is, I can do this with my kids. We can all gather around a mirror and we can all speak affirmations to ourselves and figure out how we can best serve each other. And it could be a fun family thing. And it might take a while for us to get used to it where we're not laughing and thinking it's funny. But I think the growth that's going to come from doing it is something that we all need. So continuing on, she says, when When doing mirror work, imagine seeing yourself as God, your creator, sees you, knowing you are made in his image, fully worthy. And I think that changes the whole perspective. If you are looking at yourself and saying, how does my creator see me right now? What is he thinking about me right now? Is he saying like, well done, like you're doing a great job. You are living to the fullest extent that you can live. You are being exactly who I want you to be in this season of life. You are facing adversity and you are facing problems with grit and with tenacity and with grace and allowing your family to see you walk through these trials? Or is he looking down and saying, I made you better than you think? Or anything along those lines, like what is he looking down and saying to us? Because if we can think through that, then that helps boost our self-worth. And the last thing she says on page 214, when we learn to see, hear, understand, connect with, and love ourselves, it changes every aspect of life. So when we can see ourselves as worthy, when we can see ourselves as somebody who has good intentions or somebody who's really trying to do the best that they can in every situation, and is trying to grow and learn and be better, then we can connect better in every aspect of our life. We'll be able to give more because we're giving to ourselves more. And I think that's important to always remember that, you know, when you're reading like God's word and you're praying and you're meditating and you're filling your cup every single day, you can go out and give, because you can't give when you have nothing to give. And so if you feel exhausted, if you feel tired, if you feel worn down, then you're not going to have the energy to give to somebody else. But when you wake up refreshed and you say, you know what, like God's mercies are new every morning, and, you know, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and how can I go out there and show God's love to everybody around me? You have a different perspective on life, and you have a different perspective when you're in the grocery store and somebody cuts in front of you in line, or, you know, the self-checkout line is like super long and all of a sudden like the person in front of you doesn't have 10 items or less and you have like 35 and you're sitting there with two things. You look, and instead of saying like, wow, what an inconvenience, like maybe you can have a conversation with them and say, oh, what are you shopping for? Are you grocery shopping? Are your kids in school? Like, give to them, because your cup can be filled and then you can fill somebody else and you can have that connection and you can be a light to everyone around you, because you're not hurting inside and you're not gasping for breath at every turn and being like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm exhausted, and it just gives a different perspective. So that's the end of chapter 15. So 14 and 15. Next week is 16 and hopefully 17. I feel like these chapters are getting weird because it's like short, long, and so it's hard to combine them. But I did it this week, so I think I can combine 16 and 17. And then we only have until chapter 24, and then we're done with this book study. So I hope that this was encouragement for you. I hope you learned something. I hope you can take it and apply it to your life and grow from it, and not just let it sit in your mind, taking up space and not actually doing anything. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you guys next week.